Hello everyone, you're watching RAM24.com channel, and today we're going to take apart Asus Zenfone 10. First thing first, as usual we need to remove the SIM card tray. Please note that the microphone hole is located very close to the tray slot. We remove the tray. Next we need to heat the surface of the back cover to approximately 70 degrees Celsius or about 160 degrees Fahrenheit. We use a heating mat for this, but a hair dryer will also work. After about 10 minutes, we can move on to separating the back cover. For this we use a thin plastic film. Carefully insert it into the gap between the back cover and the mid frame and gently run it along the edge, cutting through the adhesive. As always, be careful around the camera area, so you don't accidentally touch or damage the lenses. Also be careful around the side buttons, since flex cables may be routed in those areas. You can also use an additional tool to keep the cover from sticking back down while you continue removing the back cover. We carefully work our way along the edge. In our case, the back cover has already been removed before and reattached, most likely using some kind of sealant or glue. At a certain point, we can try to carefully open the back cover. Gently lift it, don't use force and don't rush, since we don't know what is located underneath the back cover. We remove the cover and set it aside. After that, it is best to cover the camera lenses to prevent dust or debris from getting on them. For this we use a special protective film. Please note that the film should be applied to the rim around the lenses. Next we move on to remove the screws in the upper section. For this we use a 1.5mm Phillips screwdriver or Phillips #30. If the screws are difficult to remove or pick up, we can use a magnetizer and tweezers to take them out. Now we can remove the upper cover. We use a non-metal tool. We find a suitable spot to pry, gently lift and detach the cover. Why not use a metal tool? To avoid shorting anything on the motherboard. Most likely the NFC and possibly the wireless charging coil are attached to this cover. I haven't checked the specs yet. And set the cover aside. Next, using a non-metal tool, we need to disconnect the battery connector. As we can see, one of the interconnect flex cable connectors is already disconnected for some reason. We disconnect the battery connector and move on to removing the screws in the lower section. Again, use a 1.5mm Phillips screwdriver or a Phillips #30. It is best to keep these screws separate from the previous ones, since they differ in size and color. Then remove the lower cover, carefully pry up the edge, lift it and take it out. A loudspeaker is mounted on this cover. After that we can disconnect the interconnect flex cables. Disconnect the connectors on the subboard first, then disconnect the connectors on the main board. Please note that arrows on the flex cables indicate the direction toward the main board. We can also disconnect the charging port flex cable connector. Now we can remove the subboard, carefully pry it up, lift it out and set it aside. The subboard contains the microphone and the SIM card connector is located on the reverse side. Now for our traditional quick test of the microphone opening. The microphone opening is located at the bottom, has an L-shaped channel and there is a protective membrane on the opposite side. The microphone itself is mounted on the back side of the subboard. If we insert anything into the microphone hole, we won't damage the microphone this way. The vibration motor remains in the display frame. Now we can remove the charging port. Carefully pry it up, lift it out and set it aside. It is best not to apply too much pressure on the flex cable to avoid damaging the traces. Next we move to the top section. Here we can disconnect the camera assembly. Carefully pry up the connectors and disconnect them. We can now remove the dual rear camera module and set it aside. Next we need to peel off the protective heat dissipation layer so it doesn't interfere with removing the front camera. It is best to remove it carefully without damaging it, as we will need it during reassembly. Okay, carefully peel it off. Under the protective layer we see a connector. Disconnect it. At this point we can remove the front camera. It is also best to cover the front camera lens with protective film to keep dust and debris off. We should also disconnect the connector that most likely goes to the earpiece speaker, and disconnect the flex cable connectors for the side buttons and the display. We also need to remove one screw that secures the motherboard. It is best to keep it separate from the others. Now nothing is preventing us from removing the motherboard. Carefully pry it up, lift it out and set it aside. As we can see, there is a microphone located in this area. As for the top microphone hole, the situation is the same, except the opening is very narrow. It also has a membrane, an L-shaped channel, and the microphone itself is mounted on the back side of the motherboard. So again, it cannot be damaged this way. The earpiece speaker also remains in the top section. Now we can remove the battery. I am not entirely sure whether it has already been removed before, but it comes out fairly easily. Since we are doing this for the first time and haven't disassembled this model before, we proceed as carefully as possible. Carefully pry it up and lift it. Don't use force to avoid damaging the battery shell. Also, we don't know what is located underneath the battery. There may be flex cables there as well. Gently lift it. At some point it becomes clear that we can use a small lever with a plastic tool to carefully detach the battery. And we remove the battery. Under the battery, as we can see, there are flex cables for the display and the side buttons. And that completes our teardown. Thank you for watching and see you in our next videos, either on our Telegram channel or on our website.